Okay, so are you guys ready for some really cool shit? I did hella research. Y'all are about to find out all kinds of fun stuff, yeah? Okay, so tonight's poll that won was Jin. And she is one of the first survivors to actually go into the fog wanting to be there. So Jin kind of started out as a modern kind of middle class family. She decided really early on in life that she wanted to be a part of the music industry. So worst came to worst, she was starting to learn, practice, make music, and her family ended up owing money. So they ended up taking everything. They took the house, they took all of her instruments, they had to sell everything, get rid of everything. They ended up moving into a basement with like 2 windows, her mom, her dad, and her little sister. She ended up raising her little sister for her parents. When she was in high school, talent scouts came and were looking for people to perform for talents. So naturally she performed, but she was rejected. She was able to, however, get an internship at the record company. She was able to get an internship kind of following producers, managers, stuff like that. Her name was Magnum Opus. That was her stage name. Mighty One. It was Mighty One Records that she took part in. She just made a name for herself by dropping her producer name in her songs. So like when she wrote songs or when she would help produce them, she would drop Magnum Opus in, and people got to know that name and really wanted her to work for them. All kill. No Spin is actually the name of the band that she ends up producing there. She didn't really like them. They had like mediocre music. And she goes out to find talent and ends up coming across Jaewoon, who we know as Trickster. She hires Jaewoon to work with them. He ends up becoming a lead singer for them. He gives them a lot of spice that they needed. Shortly after their first album, that sets the mood, like Jason Derulo, exactly. It sets the mood for them. So she's got big dreams to uphold after that first album. That first album takes off like fire. She's got to keep up with that, right? So she goes to sit down and do the second album. They start recording, and the entire production studio catches on fire. It's up in flames. She runs. She's worried about her state of well-being. She's got a lot she's got to take care of and stuff. She runs out of the building and sees that nobody from No Spins is out. Here, come to find out, the only survivor of the entire fire is Jaewoon, aka Trickster. Alexa, play This Girl Is on Fire. So when everything happens, the tragedy happens, she kind of turns to Jaewoon and is like, use this grief and this sadness to create more music, because we'll keep moving forward with this. So he becomes a standalone act that she renames as the Trickster. So his songs start to get really dark. The producers, the company, is Mighty One's production recording company, doesn't really like the violent nature of his songs. He starts including like screams and guttural like fear into his songs under the soundboard, using them for like recording and stuff, and it really disturbs the producers themselves. And so she kind of sits him down and is like, we have to kind of back off of this violent nature. And then she starts to kind of get threats, and murders begin happening at their places of shows. So when they're showing, so she starts getting threats, murders start happening days of and in cities of concerts and appearances. So she's worried. She's like, maybe somebody's trying to come for him and finish off the job. She watches, there's a murder that happens to a girl near where he was performing. And when it happens, they released a video of her getting her birthday cake from her boyfriend. He sings her happy birthday and gives her a cake, and she squeals excitedly. She recognizes the squeals from one of Jaewoon's songs. Identical sounds, identical squeals, realizes that it's straight out of his songs. And she's like, well, maybe he just put it in there after the release. But she remembers that they started producing this song well before she was found murdered. So she ignores her instincts. She's like, you know what, it can't, that's weird. You know, it's off-putting, it's weird, but it's whatever. Maybe it's just by chance. Maybe he used the clip, whatever. Mighty One decides that they want to have a meeting. They don't like the violent natures. They're getting worse. It's whatever. Young Jin works day and night. She's like, I will get it solved. I will make new songs. She sits down, produces day and night to get him new songs. They practice. They make sure it's all set to go. They decide to meet up with the record company, and they're going to show them the new songs that she's created that he's going to perform. So she's trying to make up for all of this loss that's going on in her career. Jae-woon is there before she is. She thinks that's weird because he's always late, you know, very egotistic superstar or whatever. She walks in, sits down, and as soon as she sits down, a fog starts rolling in. It's not our fog. It's a gas fog. Every time she coughs and breathes in, it makes them more paralyzed. She is forced to sit and watch as the rest of her coworkers from the producing record company get carved up by Trickster, aka Jae-woon. He just, like, cars them to hell and back, records their screams, has them gutturaled, like, completely just disgusting in front of her. Just as he goes to turn on Yeonjin, another darker fog rolls in, which is our fog. She promises herself in her head that she's going to make him pay. And as the fog rolls in, as the entity is getting ready to take her, the only thing she hears is the crowd chanting magnum opus, her name, and she welcomes the darkness within. She is actually one of our first survivors to actually welcome the darkness to get back at their killer. With all of that as like the basic background information, I do have all of her crescendo tone sounds that I took notes on and listened to all the recordings and the videos and stuff that go with it. So is that why she has her perks? Not necessarily that she's bad per se, but she has, pun intended, tunnel vision for back at him. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, her perks are very selfish because she just, in her entire life, going from being poor to getting all of this and him ruining it because he's a psychopath, she's very self-centered, and you kind of have to be in the music industry, which is, you know, he was just over the top. So she gets an email on her way to Rio that is a descriptive plan to kill her, and Trickster's #1 fan is who it's signed by. He challenges every decision she makes. She's like, I need you to stay at the hotel. There's a lot of creepy stuff going on. There's a lot of murders that have been happening. He's like, I don't want to. I don't have to. He like escapes security all the time. He's just an egotistic, you know, jerk. He's being a performer. She ends up installing a GPS on all company phones without anybody knowing. So she gets all these GPS trackers put in. She doesn't tell anybody. The only person that knows is head of security detail. So while she's in the hotel, she hears a recording studio. There's a new recording artist in there. His name is Lucas. He sounds really good. He's fresh voice. She's really tired of Jae-woon's antics. She's really just worn out. She misses the chase of getting that new artist, of getting that new talent. And she ends up giving him her card. And she's very upset with herself. She's like, you know, I shouldn't. This was such a good idea. It's cool getting to learn more about them. Good. I'm glad. She gets really upset with herself. She's like, I don't know why I gave him my card. You know, I know that my career is done with Jae-woon if everything I believe is true. He's ruining this for me. There's no point in giving this kid my card. You know, she's really upset, but she really wants to be able to do that again. Mighty One, she ends up calling them up and she's like, listen, I will do these next 3 tracks, but I am done after that. I want to quit. And they're like, hang on, we have other stuff to deal with. There's violent rumors that a fan murdered someone at a concert in Trickster's name. So she finds an article about a dead folk singer, and that's, you know, who they ended up tracking it to. And here in the picture, she has on Trickster's expensive gold audiophile headphones. Very, very good artist stuff, let alone a folk artist wouldn't have them. And he wore them all the time. And she realizes that the date in which she started wearing them is the date in which he started wearing his lower class ones during the tour. So she kind of puts together in her head that those were his headphones. So she had been around him. And again, no judgment to Yeonjin, but she continues to ignore all signs that this man is a psychopath and just goes on about her life and is like, it's fine. It's just a coincidence. She starts to fear that her career is going to be at jeopardy. He shows up to one of the after parties with scratch marks down his arms. He's got blood on his arms, dried up blood. Sometimes she sees him with like scratches on his neck. And she's just like, you know, it's weird. She's like, maybe he's just got like a boisterous sex life, maybe. But it's very odd that she just kind of ignores these clues. She ends up deciding she's just gonna search his shit. She's like, I'm gonna go get keys. I'm gonna search her shit. Like, she goes into his dressing room and she ends up looking through like a gym bag. There's nothing insignificant, like nothing out of place, of significance, not insignificant. And she takes his hotel key card and she's like, maybe I've been searching the wrong place. Maybe I need to go to like where he stays. So she gets in there and it looks like it's untouched. Nobody's been in there. It doesn't look like he sleeps in there. Hardly is ever in there. She ends up finding a face mask and a bunch of like black hoodies and black pants that he never wears like on stage, out in public. He's very flamboyant, just like her. They wear the fur, they wear bright colors because they want to be noticed. It's who they are. Monsters and Mayhem DVD edition. So she finds all of that, and then she finds an audio sampler. For those of you who don't know what an audio sampler, it's like you record for the audio and then you can use it later and like transfer it to different files and stuff. She ends up turning it on and hears violent screams, like screams of terror that she believes are genuine. She's real upset with herself. She's like, I don't know how I'm letting this happen. She ends up finding blade sharpeners, whetstones, cleaning supplies, all of his blades. He uses blades for tricks on stage, but she gives him fake ones, and now he's got real ones. So he's taking real ones on stages and actually sharpening them and stuff. She's like, this is weird. Crime Junkie 101. So the trickster walks in on her being in the hotel room. And she's like, where the hell do you go? What is all of this? Why are you doing this? Like, what's happening? And he says that No Spin's deaths really hit him mentally, that he's really tired. He doesn't really know why he's on these tracks. She's like, you know what? It's fine. Go down and get yourself a drink. Stay on the hotel premises so I can keep track of you and help you. He's like, okay, fine, I will. Huge storm breaks out. She goes back to her room. She's chilling. She's vibing. She just gets this gut feeling that he didn't listen. So she tracks his GPS on his phone that he doesn't know about, right? She ends up following this gray sedan. She gets to this like warehouse and she ends up following this gray sedan that takes off, and his little blue bleep on the GPS is following the same way. So she's following it. She's like booking it. She's in her car, but she ends up hydroplaning. She ends up in a wreck. So she ends up crashing. She busts her head open. She's all bloody. It sucks. She gets a single text message from Jai Woon. It says, help. That's it. So now in her mind, she's like, I messed up. It's not him I'm chasing. It's this guy that's been trying to kill us. The death threats. It's him. It's somebody that's trying to kidnap him and kill him, right? So now she's like, I need to find Jai Woon. I've messed up. Like, he's going to die because of me. I thought it was him this whole time, and now he's going to die. She gets to an abandoned warehouse area, and she finds the sedan, and she's got Trickster's phone, a rag, some rope, and a bloody handprint all in this car. Okay, it's in the back of the car. It's all very incriminating. She calls the police. She's like, no matter how this turns out, they've got to help. We've got to be able to catch somebody. I'm tired of these games. She calls the police. She's like, here's where I'm at. And there's a lot of flooding going on in the city, so there's also a lot of police helping in the city. So she doesn't know when they'll make it to her. She hears a gut-wrenching scream from across the parking lot. Books it to this warehouse. It's like, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna help. She's trying to break in. It's got a padlock and like chains on the door. So she's trying to break in. She can't get in. She hears another gut-wrenching scream. She's screaming for Jai Woon. She's screaming at his name because she's so running in those heels' goals, right? She's screaming. She's terrified. She doesn't want him to be killed. She thinks this is all her fault. She breaks the padlock on the door with a rock. Okay, she just ends up just smashing it. Sirens are finally getting closer. She's not sure if they're helping the flood. She's not sure if they're coming for her, but sirens are getting closer. She's feeling a little bit more hopeful. She busts open the door and she sees Lucas. Lucas is standing there with Jai Woon's shirt in his hands, and he's got one of Trickster's blades. So one of the little knives that he throws, and he's getting ready to just right across. I mean, Trickster's beat up. Jai Woon's looking like hell. He's getting ready to kill him, and a cop steps up behind Young Jin and shoots Lucas straight through the chest. Dead. And Jai Woon's free, and everybody thinks that it was him that was in danger. And here this man could have ended Jai Woon's entire murderous career. And they killed the wrong guy. And Yunjin continues to think, up until the point she almost dies and the fog takes her, that he was the good guy. It's very intense. She's a very good character. She's very, very intense. They were so close to not having Trickster being a problem anymore, and they shot the wrong guy. Just because Lucas could stand his own ground. And he was able to actually fight back against Trickster, trying to kill him. And she did end up finding her, like, bloody business card. So she knew it was Lucas, I think. She had an inkling before she got in there that it was Lucas. And so her mind was training her to believe it was Lucas and not Jai-woon. It's a little crazy. I love Yunjin's story. I love her lore. She's an amazing character. She's a strong survivor. But Jai-woon's side of their story always gives me chills. I love him. He's great. Trickster may be an annoying ass to go against, but his lore is fantastic.